Morning folks, welcome back to my world of stuff. It's a surprisingly nice Friday morning considering how dismal it was yesterday. It's got a busy day by the looks of it. Well, I'm heading off to the cinema, of course, because it is Friday. It's Alien Romulus Day. It's about 11 o'clock in the morning, so I'm heading off in the Mountmobile down to my local showcase cinema. Screening's 11:40. So I'm just going to set off and I'll grab myself a coffee. There's a Costa on site. Yeah, I'm quite looking forward to this. It's had very, very good reviews. Most people seem to think it's the third best Alien film of the 7 that have been released so far. I'm not a massive fan of the Alien franchise, to be honest. And you have to bear in mind that of those 6 films we've had so far, only 2 have been any good or are well regarded. And of course we had the laughable Alien vs Predator films. However, as ever, I'm going in with an open mind, bearing in mind the good reviews. It looks as if this has got more of a horror vibe to it. So let's get off the road. Well, let's get on the road, then get off the road and check out the new Alien movie. Right, we're at the Showcase Cinema in Nantgarw near Cardiff. Let's have a look at some of the posters for some of the forthcoming movies before I head in and get my coffee. We've got Alien Romulus, there we are, so I'm off to see today. Yeah, quite looking forward to that. Very much looking forward to Beetlejuice. You might recall I did a retro movie review a little further back, so I'm up to speed with Beetlejuice. Did enjoy it, and the sequel looks like fun. What have we got over here? Wicked, yeah, not for me. Seen the trailer, but not really my cup of tea, so I think I'll probably give that one a miss. Gladiator 2, yeah, sort of intrigued. Pedro Pascal, who now appears to be contractually obliged to be in everything. Yeah, long time coming, but could be worth a look. And then we go past this closed door. Venom, oh dear, part 3, The Last Dance. I probably will see it, but I didn't like the first 2. Have a few expectations of the new one. The trailer looks terrible. And Kraven the Hunter, which is coming out soon. I think it's next year now. Hasn't it gone back to next year? Yeah, another one of Sony's desperate Marvel products. But there's a new trailer which has just come out, which makes it look like an interesting action film, not really Kraven the Hunter. Interesting to see that the Rhino appears in it. So I probably will take a look at that, but not expecting much. Right. Onwards, as they say, to the showcase and get my pre-film coffee. Boo! Yes, Alien is back, the Alien is back, the aliens are back, however you want to describe it. The new Alien film then, Alien Romulus, is open today, Friday. It's in cinemas all over the world as we speak. And I've, as you know, just been to see it, came back a couple of hours ago. And I enjoyed it. Now, my relationship with the Alien franchise is a bit like things like Indiana Jones. Not cherished, but I will enjoy the films, I'll watch the films, and then I'll walk away and do something else. It's not something that I obsess over or am particularly fascinated by, but I've enjoyed a couple of the Alien films, as most of us have. Now, as I mentioned in my preamble, there have been 6 previous Alien films and only 2 of them are really much good. Let's face it, Alien 1979 and James Cameron's Aliens 1986. We had Alien 3, we had Alien Resurrection, we've had Prometheus and Covenant more recently. Covenant was particularly stupid. And they're both disappointing films, Prometheus and Covenant, because they were directed by Ridley Scott, who started it all with 1979's Aliens. And of course, yeah, the Alien versus Predator films, they'd be books and comics and spin-offs and all these things, graphic novels. But the Alien films, it's a franchise that's been around quite a long time without ever having been incredibly popular. Obviously, the first Alien film was a hit. Aliens was massive, but it's been, declining fortunes and diminishing returns ever since. So I was slightly baffled when I heard that there was another Alien film coming, and I thought, oh, come on, Hollywood, leave it now. You've mined this as far as you can go with it. People have lost interest. But I think what had this going for it, I suppose, was a new director, Fede Alvarez, who has form in terms of horror films. He directed a version of The Evil Dead in 2015. He directed... he's done a couple of other well-regarded horror films, and I think we all remember the original Alien as a horror film, so it was quite interesting that it was going to go back to its roots. I had some concerns when I started seeing the trailers for this a few months ago, because I was a bit worried we were going to get a young adult Alien film, because it looked like it was filled with lots of kids in space encountering aliens and getting into trouble. And I understand that's possibly the sort of thing you need to do to appeal to a broader, younger demographic. But I just think back to the original Alien film, when we had the likes of Ian Holm, John Hurt and Sigourney Weaver and Yaphet Kotto and some established adult character actors, and to see the trailers filled with teenagers who looked like they'd stepped off the set of some young adult series, which incidentally it turns out some of them had, made me a little bit dispirited and thought, well, is this going to be not exactly family friendly, but is it going to be a little more juvenile than I might want it to be? It's game of both halves, really, I have to say, having seen the film. It is full of very young people, teenagers, early 20s or whatever. I wish the script had been a bit cleverer with its characters. Characters all seemed a bit faceless to me. It stars Kaylee Spain, I knew that name. Somewhere rang a bell in my head. And when I look back, of course, she's the young journalist in Civil War, one of the very best films of the year. She was excellent in that. You've also got in the cast David Johnson, who appeared in the series Industry, which I mentioned in a previous Doctor Who video a couple of days ago. He was in a well-regarded film called Rye Lane a couple of years ago. The rest of the cast are made up of people like Archie Renault, Isabella Merced, who played Dora in the Dora the Explorer film, Spike Fern. These are all people, and I looked up what they've done in the past, and they have literally all stepped from young adult TV series, things like Shadow and Bone and all these young adult series that I've never seen. So that's the cast that we have here. Fortunately, whilst I had problems with the script's slightly boring use of language, in that it's, what do you have that? And, I'd like the script to have been perhaps a bit more creative in its dialogue. But the characters were okay, but some of them certainly came across as if they'd stepped out of the East End, because they had those strong sort of English accents, Cockney accents, London accents or whatever. And they're all pretty indistinguishable. I mean, I know the names of the characters. Rain is the lead character, played by Kylie Spaney. But there's another girl in it, and I very often couldn't tell the difference between the two of them. And the boys, they both seemed identical sort of teen hunks. So the characters are indistinguishable, and the characters are undistinguished. So they didn't really leave much of a mark. And as I said, they don't have anything very interesting to say. But I think you put all that aside, and that's probably not what we're here for. What the film does very, very clearly and very cleverly, it reinvents the Alien franchise by presenting it all over again. This is very much Alien's greatest hits. Everything you might have wanted to see in an Alien film and all your favourite bits are here again in this film. It's not the most original film I've ever seen, but I think it does what's necessary to put the Alien franchise back on track, to appeal to the fans that go back years, and to appeal to a new audience who might be interested in seeing all these teenagers running around screaming and being attacked by acid-spewing aliens. Now, all this sounds as if I didn't like the film, but I actually did. I did enjoy it. But I couldn't get over the anonymity of the cast and the fact that I didn't really care very much about them. Couldn't tell one from another. And in the end, they were just alien fodder in a way. But to the credit of the film, it's never boring. It's very interesting. It's full of incident. It's surprisingly gory for a 15 certificate film. But it doesn't do anything very new. And I suppose when you're breathing life back into an Alien franchise, what you do is you borrow from the past and give the audience the best bits of Alien. Now, whether you're new to the Alien series or whether you are a long-time fan, I think there's things here that you will enjoy. Newcomers will enjoy all the stuff they might not be familiar with, and long-term fans will go, ah, yes, this is great, because it's comforting. It makes you feel like the original Alien films. So there's nothing innovative here particularly. The story, I'll tell you a bit about the story now. Basically, it's set between Alien and Aliens, and at the beginning, there's a very nice sort of reference back to the very first film, where aboard the debris of the Nostromo spaceship, something is rescued, which turns out to be a face hugger. Ooh. A little while later, a group of disaffected teens who are living in a struggling colony planet decide to investigate the wreck of a spaceship which has appeared in orbit around their planet. They go up in a spaceship to ostensibly steal and liberate stasis pod units which are there, which they can then sell and make money from, so they can move to Jackson Star, which is a more thriving community somewhere else in the galaxy. However, once they get aboard the spaceships are split into two. There's Romulus and there's Remus. When they get aboard Romulus, they find that all is not well. This obviously has been abandoned. They don't know what's happened to people on board. Until they do, they reawaken the face huggers, and you get the first exciting scenes when these creatures are awoken, and we see them en masse. These things are scuttling around the spaceship. If you're spider-phobic, this will make you go, ah, because they are scuttling in an arachnid style across the spaceship. And they do nasty things. They do what face huggers do. If you've seen Alien, you will know what they do, and that is done again. That's what I mean. You get that scene in Alien redone, but obviously with slightly better special effects and a less silly alien. So you get that again. Then you get the alien itself, or the aliens. There's lots of them on board here, and they're spitting acid and attacking people and chasing people. There are some scenes which are very deliberately framed in a way that evokes memories of the original film. There's a scene with an alien coming up close to Kaylee Spaney's character. She's sort of leaning away, much as Sigourney Weaver did in the original Alien. So there's a lot of callbacks. A lot of stuff that you will know. There's even lines of dialogue. There's one very famous line of dialogue which is repeated towards the end of the film. There is one particular visual reference, however, to the first film which I wasn't very happy with. I'm not going to say what that is here, because that appearance hasn't been mentioned in reviews. I think that would be spoiler territory. But that involves a visual effect which doesn't work for me, and I think that's one of the things I have read where I've seen it referred to. It's a bit slightly creepy, particularly in the circumstances of which it is used, and I don't think I could be any more mysterious if I tried. Visually it looks great. I mean, it's dark, it's shadowy. I mean, Fede Alvarez really knows how to make something horrific. This whole environment aboard the spaceship, corridors, dark corridors, flickering lights, stank. It really gives you the feel of this decaying spaceship with danger and something horrible lurking around every corner. And these things are horrible. The alien is a fantastic design. Geiger's design looks as good now as it did in 79. Drooling and spitting with this thing that comes out of the middle of the mouth. The face huggers, as I said, skittering around the place. There's lots of body horror. There's lots of nasty stuff in this for a 15 rating. And overall, I did enjoy it. As a non-obsessive Alien fan, I entertained me for 2 hours. But as I said, my issues with it were I didn't care about the cast very much. I couldn't distinguish them very much, and I just felt that the script itself wasn't very articulate, if I put it like that, without being too snobby. It is basically a chase film, I suppose, in a horror film, so you don't necessarily expect great reams of Shakespearean dialogue. But the dialogue here is very simplistic and very, modern, effing and jeffing, which is to say, gets to be a bit of a bore. But the film itself isn't boring because there's so much going on. It's very exciting, it's very spectacular. The effects obviously are top draw. It moves along really well. I think I will agree with those who say the last half an hour goes a bit what? Because there's something that happens. And there are links to Prometheus, in fact. So it tries to link the films together in ways that perhaps they haven't done in the past. But there is something that happens, or a thing that appears in the last half an hour which really is nuts, but quite terrifying and quite disturbing. And that hit the spot quite well for me. So I think ultimately, not that this was a film that was high on my radar this year, because as I say, I can't help thinking a lot of these franchises that go back decades should be left decades ago. But this, I think, shows that you can breathe new life into these things, even if it's by using tricks that were established in films years ago, because you're finally giving people what they really want from Alien. And I think that ultimately what people want from Alien is to see this thing stalking around, drooling, spitting acid, terrorizing people. That's what Alien is all about. It is a horror film. Aliens, of course, was a war film, an action film. God knows what all the others have been ever since then. It doesn't need to be pretentious. It doesn't need to be, as Ridley Scott tried to make with particularly Prometheus, something. I think he was trying to make his 2001, but it didn't really work out like that, and I don't know what Covenant was. Basically, it just gives you what you want from an Alien film, and if you're an Alien fan, you will love it. Doesn't reinvent the wheel, doesn't try to, it's just a reset. And on that basis, it works very well. I'm going to give Alien Romulus 8 out of 10. A good 8 out of 10. It's not a perfect film. At the end of the year, am I going to say it's one of my favourite films? I don't know, because I don't know what other films are coming up in the next few months. At the moment, I don't know. I think I'll need to see it again. I think it's a film that perhaps, once you've seen it, you can go back and possibly pick up more on the characters, and because the characters didn't work for me, funnily enough. I just found them quite bland and faceless. So I think perhaps a revisit might sort of firm that up a little bit. But certainly it's an enjoyable experience, certainly not a waste of time, and I think if you're an Alien fan, you're going to get a lot out of it. In cinemas now, as I said, all over the world. If you've seen Alien Romulus, why not leave a comment down below? Let me know what you thought of it. Are you a fan of the Alien franchise? Did it live up to your expectations? Did it disappoint you? Why not let me know down below? And watching the film, I did think, well, I'm going to have to rewatch all the Alien films, because I don't think I've really watched anything after Aliens for years. I've certainly seen Alien 3 once, possibly Resurrection once or twice, Covenant and Prometheus once. So I think I'm going to do a rewatch of all the films and do a little ranking at the end, because people seem to like stuff like that. And yes, I am going to do the Alien versus Predator films. I know they're crap, but the completist in me says I got to look at them again. So that's something to come in the next few months. Right, thank you for watching. Hope you enjoyed this video. If you stumbled across this channel out of interest, and I know there are millions of Alien Romulus reviews out there at the moment, no reason why mine should stand out, but if it has, and you've enjoyed the review and you've enjoyed the video, stick around, because there's lots more to come. Coming up on the weekend is my latest Spider-Man film review, going back through the Spider-Man films as they enjoy brief cinema re-releases. Spider-Man 3 is the next on the agenda, and next week there will be another episode of my Revisiting Classic Doctor Who series. I've had a couple of requests for stories to watch, so I will be watching them both at some point. I'm not sure, I haven't decided for certain which one is going to be yet, but that'll be coming up the next week or so. Been a lot of stuff posted in the last week, probably not quite so much next week, but yeah, anyway, stick around, like, subscribe, leave a comment down below. I'll see you soon. Until I do, keep taking the alien stuff.